Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our Universal Laws series, The Laws of Wealth. And today's law is the law of evolution. Now, it's interesting because sometimes we get to these laws and I can feel the sensation of why does this law matter? And I remember in the beginning when I was channeling this material for the first time and I was feeling directed towards certain laws that I needed to understand them deeply. Didn't understand why I needed to understand them, but I knew that I was being pointed and I trusted myself enough and I trusted the wisdom of what was flowing through me through my intuition and through my relationship with Jonah that I just dove right in. And I'm glad that I did because now that I understand, understanding evolution has been one of the keys to my ability to achieve things. Not because evolution is necessarily like a secret weapon, although it kind of is, knowing it sort of is. Good morning. It's good to see you. When we've been talking about flow and divine timing and all of these different aspects that you really can seize and use and utilize towards your benefit. So there's also a directionality to flow where the universe supports in different velocities, different intensities. So imagine flow of water and having a push of energy that moves behind those flows. So there's three of them. There's three different flows that the universe is working with that we can also work with when we understand. So evolution is one of them. And we'll talk about evolution is not about evolution of the fittest. It's not evolution of the strongest, of the prettiest, of the coolest. It's not like that at all. It might look like it is sometimes correlative, but it's not true. So and it might work that way because you focus on it, but that's not the determining factor. But there are three different velocities of flow. So one of those velocities is evolution. One of those velocities of flow is entropy, and the other velocity of flow is stagnation. But stagnation is actually a little bit of a trick word. It's not stagnation. It's actually part of what happens in the law of vacuum. So we talked a bit about vacuum. When we create space, it opens up and allows us to move forward. So stagnation, when we are in stagnation, it's really important because stagnation is one of the most dangerous flow velocities that we can participate in, except for when we're children. When we're first born, we are always sort of in that flow a little bit because the intensity of flow around us is stronger. So let me just briefly talk about entropy because I'm going to give it a whole conversation tomorrow. We're going to talk about entropy. But entropy taps into a velocity flow that is slower. So it's slower, less intense, and it lasts longer. So it's an energy that sort of sustains for a bit in order to break things down. So it's a lower intensity. It doesn't move quickly. It doesn't create quickly. In fact, it's working towards helping us to break things down. So it's an energy that we don't want to tap into when we're creating. Now, the velocity of flow that I was talking about related to stagnation. Stagnation is when if you've been in that life experience where you're not pulled to create anything. You're like, oh, I just kind of want to, go with the flow. I just want to be with whatever is. And I'm not really wanting, there's not a lot of motivation to create anything. What happens is going with the flow means I want to be a part of somebody else's flow. And so someone else's flow is going to pull you in. So you can't stay stagnant because everything must move, everything must flow. So the same thing that happens in water. When you have stagnant water, then somebody else's flow, not the water's flow, is running the show. So bacteria and algae and all kinds of things that are happening in that stagnant water. That's why you don't drink that water, because that water isn't flowing with life. It's flowing with the energy of entropy, the energy of things that are breaking it down. So the choice is being made for it. So when there's no movement, when you're not conscious of movement, the choice gets made for you. This is really key to understanding evolution. So evolution has a strong force flow. It's a velocity of flow that's really strong, and it gives you bursts of energy. Now, those bursts of energy don't last forever. They don't last for a really long time, but they can last for many hours. And then once you get a flow, you can actually get a momentum of that flow, and that evolution takes off and you have a lot of energy, a lot of velocity. So evolution is the ability to create something. It's when you have a desire and you're moving in a direction. When you're moving in a direction, the cause of that flow, when you've made a decision about something, when you've decided to take action and you're listening and you've got inspired action flowing through you, and you're willing to take those actions and to create, to take responsibility for that creation, the universe meets you in the flow of evolution. So your focus creates evolution. What we focus on becomes the evolutionary energy. Now, what's really key about this, and thank goodness, is that we evolve faster when we focus on love. We evolve slower if we're evolving, if we're trying to create evolution through fear or pain or suffering, we actually tap into low force energy, which is entropy, which means it's going to break down. So anything that we create based on fear or anxiety or worry will naturally move into entropy, which we'll talk about tomorrow. So evolution is, I love this thing. I am in love with this path forward. I am excited to move towards this. I choose this path forward. So now evolution happens, which is the desire to be more than it was. So it wants to be better. It wants to be excellent. It wants to get to the next level of excellence and the next level of simplicity and ease. So evolution is always looking for the simplest path forward with this current condition. So this happens in your body. Your body is always evolving. The cells of your body are evolving. Cells replicate, but they never replicate the exact same cell. And this is the best way to really, I think, understand evolution. So your body is always going through an evolution, which means that if there's something that you want to include in the next iteration of this cell, the next iteration of your beliefs, it will be included, right? Because you're focusing on it and you're thinking about it, and anything that you don't think about won't be included. So you evolve by letting go of things. If you're no longer focused on it, you'll let it go and evolution occurs. So evolution is working with these other energies. It's working with the energies of other people's flow. So the more people that are flowing in the same direction, the faster the evolution. So the more people who want unity consciousness, the more people who want love, the more people who want to bring something new into the world, the more people focused in a direction, the faster the evolution happens. And that energy will always favor making it better. So if you're wanting to make it better and simpler, wanting to refine it, you're willing to pivot, you're willing to keep it simple, then evolution is faster and easier. And so the universe favors that, more energy flows to that. The simpler it is, the easier it is to replicate the love of that. The simpler it is, the easier it is just to replicate the idea of it. It's easier to move that idea because it's simple to include all the components. When it's complex, when there's a lot of information, not everything is top of mind for the cell or the person. And so not everything can be replicated. If it's complicated, you've heard this probably a lot if you're an entrepreneur, or if I think about my mom choreographing dance or different things that we're doing in the world. If it's complicated, it's really difficult for someone to repeat it. Therefore, it's difficult to create momentum, which means the universe can't replicate that and can't make it even better, can't bring more into the world. As a result, creation is slowed down, which means it moves into a different energy. And then when the energy slows down, it moves into entropy. So it's really important to understand that when you're wanting to create something in the world, you want to work towards the excellence of simplification. Get this simple, easy to replicate, easy to make better, but stay simple, right? So as it's simple, the edges get smoother. We understand things more. Thinking about, when we, I really love bronze sculptures. I think they're beautiful. I love looking at all of the different details. I love the amazing things that people can create, crafting this beautiful bronze, working with metals. I think that's amazing. And so in looking at that, what I love the most is when those details are so fine. It's not, everything is brought to the simplest, most excellent edges, the smoothness, everything is brought to the simplest techniques in order to express this image. It's not complication. It's often, my favorites are often the ones that are, a single horse or a group of horses where it's not a complicated bronze image. It's not, a whole giant scene. Bronze isn't as beautiful when it's, the sun and the moon and the, all the things in there. And that's the complication of the image. It's when a scene can really stand out. It's just such a beautiful energy. And so the universe is looking for evolution to bring forth the simplest, most beautiful, easiest to replicate energies. So for you, applying this is when you're thinking about bringing something forward into your life, you want to create more money. Let's talk about that because we've been talking about this in this whole series of wealth. You want more money. The fastest path, if you're wanting to break through in your finances, the fastest path is going to be the simplest path. So getting rid of all of the complication of focusing on debts or focusing on this investment and this thing and this path. And I want to create these 32 products. Or, oftentimes when I talk to entrepreneurs who are just starting out, they're like, well, I want to do this and this and this and this. And then if I do this, and then they have this really complicated path forward. And all of that's wonderful. And yes, there are lots of ways to generate wealth and to create opportunities that way. But because it's not simple, you're going to be working with low density energy, which means it's not going to happen fast, that you can build it. It's just going to take a really long time. And oftentimes people, when they're in that place, they're actually coming from a place of desperation, which slows it down even more. So the simplest path is, from a simple perspective, how does it feel to experience wealth? What's the feeling of that? My thinking of, I'm going to allow myself to experience wealth quickly, finances quickly, the shift of that quickly. I'm going to feel it in my body. What does that feel like to open up and activate that flow? And can I feel that flow in my body? Really simple. It can come from anywhere. And so what's the next simplest, most fast step that I can take to generate more flow of money today? And you'll get a very direct response. And when you follow that and allow yourself to move towards that simplest thing first, what happens is you create a flow that can now be replicated, and it can also be added to. So once it's simple and really efficient, then you can add a layer which might look complicated, but it isn't. And so then the universe can layer another simple piece. And so we keep adding simple pieces, which then maximizes and amplifies the flow, which creates an evolution of, I was doing this thing. I remember in the beginning when I was doing numerology readings, and then, I added to that coaching packages. And then from coaching packages, I created coaching programs. And then from that, I created, other programs. And it looks more complicated now, but it was so simple. It was so simple. It started with readings. And then I just got really, really good at readings and focused my attention on being the best, evolving to the best that I could be with readings, so that then I could evolve beyond that. So this is how evolution works. Evolution works with what feels like, I want to be careful about this word because it's not about being perfect, but there's a perfection, an excellence to it. Being the most excellent, having the most excellent experience with a simple aspect, so that that excellence can then go to more. And then you can add more and more. So the key to evolution, the key to bringing yourself to the absolute next best, is being willing to make the simplest thing the absolute best, so that then you can have something more robust that's also at its best. So then every element of it, right? I'm thinking back to that bronze sculpture. The hoof of that horse, the legs of the horse, the tail of the horse, all of those things, they're simple aspects of the whole structure. And each one needs to be attended to with absolute excellence, so that the whole entire picture can be excellent. So the whole entire sculpture can be beautiful. So bringing forth, the most beautiful artistry you can bring forth into the world, and then repeat it. And then that one becomes the best one you've ever done. So you're in this continual stage of reaching for excellence. That's what the universe is doing. The universe is looking for a continued state of excellence. You might not always see it in the moment because it's working towards the excellence of one area or another area, or bringing excellence here, or it gets caught up in a stage of entropy, which we'll talk about tomorrow, because we've got a lot of entropy happening on the planet right now. And so that can be confused with, are we really growing? Are we really going there? And we absolutely are. So as individuals, we're focusing on individual excellence. So in order to have a world filled with excellence, we must evolve the individual so that the collective can experience the evolution. So the simplest way to evolve humanity is to evolve you, to focus your attention on, how can I have the most excellent experience within this body first? How do I bring that to a level of excellence? And so in that, your desire, your goal for finances, your wealth of the flow of well-being in whatever area of life, whether that is money or relationships or health, whatever that is, reaching for the most excellent experience is an incredibly humanitarian goal, because when you can reach that excellence, then we make it more possible for humanity as a whole to reach excellence and to reach that evolution. But without that, it's going to be completely out of sync with the universal laws. I don't like to use the word impossible because I think we're doing it anyway. I think that is what's occurring, but it will only be possible through the flow of excellence, through the individual, through the flow of excellence as communities, and then as an entire species and the whole planet. So we're all moving through that in this evolution we're experiencing. So, definitely feeling that, and feeling the connection of that, of understanding just how important you are to the evolution of humanity right now, and the evolution to a body willing to be in unity consciousness. So that's happening through you, and then it's happening through us. So thank you for all that you're doing. Thank you for being a part of the series. And I look forward to our conversation tomorrow about entropy, because I think this is a really eye-opening conversation, and one we don't spend a lot of time with. But evolution and entropy, these are your velocity. This is the speed of your movement. And it's important to seize the speed you want, seize the energy that you want, seize the energy of evolution by focusing on the excellence of what's in front of you right now. All right. Bye for now. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and I'll see you tomorrow.